Friday marks 10 years since Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 mysteriously disappeared en route to Beijing. Families gathered this week in Kuala Lumpur to remember their loved ones. The Malaysian transport minister told the families the country may charter another search effort. Passengers and crew have been presumed dead since January 2015. And although debris was discovered, the governments of Australia, Malaysia and China were not able to locate the plane. They ended their formal searches in 2017. A search by an American company a year later also yielded no conclusive answers. Joining us now is Charitha Pattiaratchi. He's a coastal oceanography professor at the University of Western Australia. Now, first off, I want to ask, your work involves predicting where the wreckage may walk ashore. Walk us through how you do that.
Well, we do have the predictions of currents in the surface. So any currents in the region would transport the debris on the surface. So what we can do is to have computer models which simulate the currents, and then we seed particles and we track them across the Indian Ocean. The circulation in the Indian Ocean is that if you have any debris on the eastern Indian Ocean, such as Australia, close to Australia, they would basically end up on the western side of the Indian Ocean, in the islands, Madagascar, Mozambique, etc.
Does the drift analysis provide any clues as to where the full plane might be?
We can only the ocean is chaotic and, let's say, noisy, so we can't exactly say where it is. We can give a region where it's most likely to be.
But Charitha, a lot of us remember last year a submersible in the Atlantic went missing and was found within days. What makes this area and this search so much more difficult?
It's difficult because we don't actually know exactly where it is. So in the submersible, we knew roughly where it is within, let's say, a few tens of kilometers. The areas we're looking at may be a few hundreds of kilometers that we actually think. So I give the sort of the analogy that maybe people may be familiar with the island of Tasmania in southern Australia. It's about 25,000 kilometers, square kilometers. And imagine that you are actually up on a helicopter 4 kilometers up in the sky. You're trying to look for a crash site on land. That's hard enough, but imagine that you don't actually have any vision. You're blindfolded. So that is where you have the problem, that we don't know exactly where it is. We know an approximate area, but it is tough because it is 4 kilometers down on the bottom of the ocean.
We mentioned earlier that Malaysian officials are open to a new search. What hope is there for a different outcome this time?
There's a lot of hope. I mean, in the 10 years, the technology associated with looking at the seabed and mapping the seabed has increased tremendously. For example, the first search undertaken by ATSB took almost 1,000 days, and Ocean Infinity did it in 90 days. Few years later. And now the Ocean Infinity, the development of their surface autonomous remotely controlled vehicles and autonomous underwater vehicles have increased the capacity and the accuracy of mapping.
Charitha Pattiaratchi, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.